Okay, worksheet 8, squaring negative numbers. All right, we had the whole standard deviation formula, which looked super terrible, and then I said, hey, let's not worry about that. It's in the calculator. If you had to do it by hand, it does involve a lot of squaring of negative numbers. And if that was the only place we were ever going to square negative numbers, you wouldn't have to worry about it, because I'd say, and we're never doing that again, so let's not worry about it. But squaring negative numbers comes up like a whole lot in all sorts of formulas, some of them that aren't in the calculator for this class. So this is just a little section on squaring negative numbers. 3 squared, that means 3 times 3. 3x, parentheses, squared. They both get squared. It's 3 squared x squared. So that's 9x squared. If it's in the parentheses, it gets squared. So negative 3 squared in parentheses versus negative 3 squared, no parentheses. If it's in the parentheses, it gets squared. This is negative times negative, 3 times 3. It means negative 3 times negative 3, and a negative times negative is positive. Okay, this is why this whole section is here, is because if you square a negative, you get a positive. Negative 3 squared is something else. It says, can't you just do 3 squared? Yeah. Oh, by the way, can you stick a negative in front of it? Okay. So you're doing like 9. Oh, by the way, stick a negative in front of it. That's how that comes out to be negative. Okay, and a lot of times if you're squaring negative numbers in your calculator and you write negative 3 squared, your calculator will square the 3 and not the negative because you didn't put any parentheses. All right, so if you want the negative squared, and most problems in statistics you want the negative squared, if you want the negative squared, you got to throw in some parentheses. So 1 squared, that's 1 times 1. Negative 1 times positive 1. Well, that does come out as negative. It's just it's not a square, because one of them is negative and one of them is positive. That's the only way to get something to come out negative. Square, instead of square, can't do that. You can multiply something that's positive with something that's negative, but then there's no way that's a square. And negative, or parentheses, negative 1 squared, negative gets squared, that's positive 1. Negative out front, and then, oh yeah, 1 squared, that's negative out front, 1 squared. And then after that, it gets into a little bit more like the sorts of things you have to do in stats, which is square all these numbers and then add them together. So square that. And the point of this is just, I mean, the temptation is there. Let's just kind of like add some, subtract some, keep the numbers kind of small. But no, every single negative in this problem will get squared out of the problem. So 36 plus 0 plus 36 equals 72. Square them and then add them. That's a really typical thing for stats. And all the negatives keep squaring out of the problem. A negative 100 squared, positive 100. Negative 11 squared, positive 121. Negative 12 squared, positive 144. That's 365. Okay. Negative 5, that'll be positive 25. Positive 16, positive 9, positive 4, positive 1, and of course positive 0. So let's see, that's 30, that's 25, that's 25. So 50, 55. All right. Negative 1.1 squared is positive 1.21. Negative 1.3 squared is positive 1.69. 0 is just 0. 4 will be 16. 2.3 squared. 5.29. So add them all together. $24.19. And that's how you do worksheet 8.